top Big Ten 2025 commits in the month of July. Obviously, this is July 2024. There were, I think, 2 or 3 maybe commits from teams in July 2023 in the 2025 class, but we're not going to count those. We're just going to look at July 2024. Obviously, the big one, Dakorien Moore, he committed to Oregon in spectacular fashion. He decommitted from LSU. A lot of people were favoring Texas in that recruitment, but Oregon was able to get themselves in there. He was also considering Ohio State, and with Ohio State, all the luck that they've had with, I shouldn't say luck, all the great things that they've done with wide receivers lately, really hard to steal a recruit away from Ohio State that is a top-rated wide receiver, but that's who Dakorien Moore is. He's number 3 player in the nation, the number 1 wide receiver, and the number 1 player in Texas. And so when you're number 1 player in Texas, you're going to be one of the best players in the nation, just the way it is. So for Oregon to go into Texas and grab Dakorien Moore, props to them. I'm sure NIL was involved. I don't even like saying that just because I think it's a cop-out for fan bases when they lose out on a recruit. Like, oh, well, we just sent out the NIL. And so, no, I think a lot more goes into the stuff than just NIL for these kids. And I think that Dan Lanning has assembled a very, very strong recruiting staff. He would call it a relationship staff, but it is a recruiting staff, and what they're able to do, they are building great relationships. And the fact that they're able to get some of these kids who are not from Oregon to go out there, they do get some kids from California, so props to them for that. But they truly do recruit nationally. I don't think they have a single kid from the state of Oregon in their class. Just absolutely wild. Only 14 commits right now. One of the highest averages in all of college football, if not the highest, I believe it might be. And they're the number 2 class in the Big Ten. We're going to talk more about Oregon here in a minute, but the next one is Riley Pettijohn, the number 29 player, another 5-star linebacker for Ohio State. Linebacker. You'd think wide receiver. You would think quarterback. But no, this has been a very strong defensive player class for Ohio State, getting Riley Pettijohn. Riley Pettijohn is uber athletic, just super athletic. One of the fastest linebackers you're ever going to see in college football. He was faster than TreVeyon Henderson's best time, who is the Ohio State running back. Now, of course, there's some complications there with COVID and things like that. I don't think he ran track his senior year because he went to Ohio State, but still, faster than TreVeyon Henderson when he was in high school, and the best time he was able to pull up there. Number 3, Ivan Taylor, the safety that Michigan was able to steal away, and it's pretty impressive to see a safety ranked this high. They are not a position that is thought of, I shouldn't say thought of, well, they're not a position that's prioritized in the NFL draft. So when you're able to get a safety up there around top 50, definitely in the top 100, that's very, very good for them. Michigan was able to get Ivan Taylor away from Notre Dame, and they'll let you know too. I've seen the Michigan recruiting people and their sites, kind of trolling Notre Dame fans a little bit, which, hey, it's all in good fun, whatever it is. I'm sure Notre Dame will have some more fun with that once they enter the Big Ten. And then Andrew Olesh, another good player. And somebody that just fits Michigan. I mean, he's the number 94 player, number 4 tight end in the nation, and the number 3 player in Pennsylvania. The fact that James Franklin has not been able to lock down Pennsylvania, he's probably going to get Zahir Mathis away from Ohio State. I'm not going to predict it, but it probably is going to happen at some point. And that's going to be like his only top 10, top 5 player in Pennsylvania that's going to go to Penn State. I mean, he has not locked down his state at all, and it's been one of Penn State's biggest issues this year is they haven't been able to lock down the state, and you have some of the best players in the state of Pennsylvania going elsewhere. And it's a real problem for James Franklin. It's a real problem for Penn State this recruiting cycle. He's going to have to try to fix this going forward because with the way State College is and how far it is from the airport, it makes it super hard to recruit nationally. He's really going to have to get in there and lock down Pennsylvania better if they want to have some of these higher rated recruiting classes that they've had. All right, Jadon Perlotte, I apologize, I don't know how to say the last name. He is the linebacker that USC was able to get to decommit from Georgia and go to USC. Seems to be the opposite way around here lately. Players decommit from USC and go to Georgia, but USC was able to make this flip. Really good things for them. I think that USC hired a really strong defensive staff, not just in coaching, but also in recruiting as well. Dan Lin he's a great hire in my opinion, but they were able to put a really good staff around him as well, which is very important to me. And that's one of the reasons why I'm one of the believers in USC's defense more this year than some other people. I don't know about Miller Moss. I tend to believe that any quarterback under Lincoln Riley is going to do well, but we'll see. He had 6 touchdown passes in that bowl game, which gives me a lot of confidence to think that things could go really well. But, what was it? Was it deception? I never really saw that out of him before that. So kind of surprised me. We'll see where they go from there. But regardless, USC, this is an awesome pickup for them to get him to decommit from Georgia. Go over to them. Very good. Zaydrius Rainey-Sale. I hope I'm saying that right. Number 127 player nationally, number 16 linebacker, and the number 1 player in Washington. Of course, these are all 24/7 composite rankings, and they have him the number 1 player in Washington. Awesome to see a team being able to lock down their state, get their guy in there. Normally, you don't see very many number 1 players in the state go at this time in July. Typically, they'll commit a little bit sooner. Sometimes they'll turn into that, player recruiter for the team. But Zaydrius, he committed later, and he has every right to do that. And Washington, no matter what, they're going to be ecstatic to have him there. So he commits in July. Good for them. Dawayne Galloway, the cornerback out of Ohio. Ohio was not interested in Dawayne Galloway, and he's a top 150 player. He is freaky fast. I don't know if he has the best ball skills in the world. I think that was one of the knocks Ohio State seemed to have on him, but freaky fast, so he's going to be able to do a lot of things. Ryan Walters is going to be in his bag, really creating Dawayne Galloway into an NFL corner. I do believe he's the number 16 corner in the nation, but the number 7 player in Ohio. So, when Ohio talent is not being recruited by Ohio State, they're going to go somewhere else, and they're going to go somewhere big and someplace nice. Akili Smith Jr., the first quarterback that we're going to have on this list. I guess the only quarterback we're going to have on this top 10 list here. Number 158 player nationally, number 12 quarterback, and number 13 player in California commits to Oregon. So good pickup for them. I think that for Oregon, it was going to be a little bit harder to recruit quarterbacks this cycle, because it's kind of like what Ohio State's going to go through next cycle. Ohio State is a very full quarterback room, and right now Oregon has a very full quarterback room as well. They got arguably the 2 best quarterbacks in the transfer portal to come to them. One to finish out his season with Oregon, and another one to play for a couple years at Oregon as long as everything goes the right way. So it's going to be hard, but they were able to get Akili Smith Jr. here. Props to them for that. Another name that I'm going to really struggle with, Alai Kalaniuvalu, inside offensive lineman, number 186 player nationally, number 11 inside offensive lineman, number 4 player in Nevada. Honestly, I don't know all that much about Alai. It surprises me, the very first offensive lineman on this list, but hey, good for Oregon. They were able to get a guy in there, keep beefing up the class. Great for them. And then Dylan Robinson, the athlete, number 6 athlete, number 17 player out of California, rounds out the list there. So very impressive to see the teams out west here. So prevalently, that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the teams out west. 6 of the players in the top 10 are from the teams out west. So very impressive from them. Purdue gets a player up there in July. That was really impressive for them, and good to see. And then only 1 player from Ohio State in the Big Ten top 10 here. So Ohio State did have some other players. They did have Maxwell Roy, who's the number 230 player, and Jarquez Carter, the number 394 player here in July. But some other players that do deserve mention: Hardy Watts for Wisconsin. He was 11th. Chris Lawson was 13th for Washington. Maryland had a good July here. Zamir Smith and Bryce Jenkins committed to them. Michigan also got Phillip Wright in July, so that was good for them. Trying to make sure I don't miss out on any other names. Nebraska had a good time. Bryson Weber, Sean Hammerbeck, Jeremiah Jones, some good pickups for them there. And then some other lower rated players there at the end. But Penn State was able to get a few guys. Randy Adrika, Yvonne Kimaju and LeVar Arrington Jr. They did get 3 players there. They just are not in the top 10. So overall, pretty good July for Big Ten recruiting, especially some of these teams already had some of the players that they wanted, but very interesting to see 4 top 100 players committed in schools in the Big Ten in the month of July alone. So very cool stuff there.